Hello. We did the movie A Pursuit of Happiness with me and Neil O'Connor, Robert Gerwin, Michael Paddock, and then Harry Shitterman.
Yep. Well, this is the summary of the movie we watched, The Pursuit of Happiness. This is the cover of the film. Pursuit of Happiness is really about a character named Chris Gardner, who's played by Will Smith. It follows him and his son. It's played by Jaden Smith, so it's a true father-son duo. Early on in the film, Chris is facing eviction and poverty, and he loses a job, but he refuses to give up on his dream of providing a good life for his son, and he wants his son to be happy. So through determination and the will to find a job, he finds a job on a good brokerage firm, and he goes on a 6-month program and succeeds and becomes the highest seller of all the interns, and in that way he wins the job, and it results in a great scene at the end of pure joy and happiness. And it's really a great feel-good story about the pursuit of happiness. It's a good film.
All right. So the me's on the scene about this movie. So at one point in the film, Chris and his son, they sleep in a bathroom, and this is just one of the many representations of how you see the bathroom and you think of like that's a dirty area, like that's somewhere like somebody would never have to sleep, but then they're put in that position, which really shows how desperate and in need they are of a shelter. So that just puts into perspective how desperate they were to find a job and to make money and to get shelter. Yeah. Oh, this is me, yeah. So the personal influence. So this movie personally influenced us to not take things for granted. So as you see, like they sleep in the bathroom. They don't really have a lot of food to eat. They don't really have places to go. And Chris is constantly trying to find a job to make money. We want to be the best that we possibly can. In the film, you see Chris, even though he doesn't have a lot of money and he doesn't have all these things, he's still great to people. He's still very nice. He's still very courteous. So never give up, even when all odds are against us. Chris never gives up. He always strives to keep finding a job, to keep helping his son, find shelter, do everything he can to make betterment for his life. And we all agreed that we each have a time in our lives to where we can relate this movie, where we each have had struggles and we've overcome them to be the best we possibly can, and basically strive for the modules.
Alright, so we talked about how this movie relates to week 3. So first off, we can delve into that, tell you what week 3 really is. And week 3 is basically all about suffering and how Jesus suffered for us. The ultimate suffering and sacrifice in the Christian faith is when Jesus died on the cross for us, every single one of us for time to come. He suffered greatly, and we all know the signs of the cross. He has the thorns on his head, carries the whole cross, falls multiple times, and it's it's a really brutal story to hear and listen to how hard Jesus had it. But we realize that he suffered so greatly because how much he loved us. And in the Language of the Cross article, it is said that suffering is a common language everyone can come together through and come closer, because everybody at some stage in their life is going to face some sort of suffering, some more than others, but it's something everybody in the human race can relate to, so we can all come close to it. And that's kind of the goal, is to not let suffering divide us, but let it come together. In the suffering packet, there was a lot of ways to deal with suffering, and one of the things, we should not ask why we're suffering, but instead act on the suffering and do things in God's name. So instead of acting helpless, kind of take initiative and do things to help end the suffering and make it better for our lives.
Alright, so how is this movie related to week 3? So Chris suffers a lot throughout the whole movie through his work. He tries to sell density bone scanners to many hospitals and stuff, and none of them seem interested due to the price, and they don't know if it's truly will work or not. And this gives him a lot of struggles throughout the whole movie in his life and supporting his kid and wife. And then so the basketball scene is when he was with his son at the park and he was shooting his son was shooting basketball, and he told him to not try to pursue it because he will never get anywhere with it, and it will be like a really hard sport. That's just shows how his life was leading on to his kids, and he realizes that. And right after he says that, he says, "Don't let anybody tell you what to do, and be your own person." And that shows how he wants his kid to be better than he is, and not listen to anybody else. And then he can't pay rent in the movie due to nobody buying his work, which makes it really hard for him to live. And then that makes him have to go to a church shelter at one point in the movie. And like Neil said, he had to sleep in a bathroom, and that really shows how much he did suffer due to his work, and he couldn't pay rent. And the landlord wanted him to kick him out. And so his wife left him due to all these reasons. And she didn't think that he could support him anymore and could support his kid. And then all of this, so he actually resurrects at the end. I'll relate to that a little bit. He resurrects at the end because he finally gets a job. And when he shows up to the interview, you can tell how much he suffered because he doesn't show up in a suit and tie. He just shows up in a t-shirt and paint all over himself due to like his hard work the day before, and he couldn't get there on time. And he gets the job due to him just being his true self and just showing them that he could be the man that they want in their firm. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.